it begs the question, like, is this the Dak that we're going to get? Is this the Dak that we're maybe become accustomed to seeing? Has he figured it out? Obviously, we're going to find out as the season go on. But I was telling people this is that the reason I said Dak was betting on himself because obviously he felt he had a game like this in him, and he had been criticized about his throwing, and the thing is he's thrown against the Giants before pretty well. Just not this well. And this may be a year where he is really figuring everything out. Everything, makes sense. And he has the most talent at wide receiver that he has ever had since he entered into the league. Amari Cooper, I think a lot of people will say Amari Cooper now is probably better than any Dez Bryant that he had. That's not a knock on Dez Bryant. Michael Gallup, I think people are going to say, yeah, he's definitely better than Terrence Williams. You got a veteran in Randall Cobb that stepped in. And then you got the old wily veteran, Jason Witten, just out there, rallying the troops, I guess. But, I mean, he got into the end zone as well. Now, I'm going to say this, if Dak has another game like this, and it doesn't have to be 400 yards or anything, but if he has another game like this, Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys might be in trouble because he continues on this type of pace. Well, not this pace because it's going to slow down. But if he continues and him betting on himself, he's going to get that close to $40 million. I still say he won't get the $40 million, but they have Washington. We saw what, Carson Wentz did to Washington in the second half. Dak could very well come out there and do the same thing as far as like what Philadelphia did to Washington. Geis is not playing. You got Adrian Peterson, so you don't know what you're getting, on their offense. They still don't have Trent Williams. Their defense is not the greatest, thing since sliced bread. So Dak could come out there and have another game and then just looking over to the sideline, price just went up. And it's keep going up. And I said, do not let this man get to the Super Bowl because if he do, that pie that Jerry was talking about, all of it's going to be gone, and it's going to be in Dak Prescott's pocket, But he has a good shot, man. He has some real talent around, and then if his defense can step up and be top 10. He got a real good shot of putting up some crazy numbers, putting up a win-loss record that Cowboy fans will go crazy over, and a shot. I'm not going to say they're there yet, again, because it's week 1, and a shot to make a Super Bowl run. I know people are like, why are you doing that, Jelani? You're not a Cowboys fan. I know, but, I'm just speaking on what I see, at this point. And what I also saw at this point, Kyler Murray, number 1 overall draft pick, he had his first game, and he got basically a quick lesson in NFL defensive speed in the first half of that game against the Detroit Lions. And he was all over the place. He was throwing the ball away smartly. But Detroit was getting penetration. He wasn't as accurate as a lot of people talked about. But in the second half, where they were down by 18, this game looked like it was all but over. Detroit does what Detroit does, being a Lions fan. We found a way, to lose the game with the whole. I know it's more time, to win a game, but look, this is us, and this is what happens. Detroit calls the perfect play, and then they call a timeout, and they would have got the first down, which pretty much would have locked up the game, and they would have, got home with the W. But that did not happen. Everything seems to start making sense. The whole quick pass that the Arizona Cardinals was doing started coming together. Larry Fitzgerald had a good game. He was over 100 yards for a touchdown. But the thing that I like from Kyler Murray is that he bounced back and he figured, he figured out where he could go and what he could attack in the Detroit defense. I mean, I think Stafford had a pretty good game himself. T.J. Hockenson had a good game. He's the first rookie wide receiver to have over 100 yards receiving in a game in probably, I think, 10 or 15 years. So Detroit was having a very good game and a very dominant game. And then Kyler Murray could have just said, you know what, it's not our week. But he did not do that. He did not give up, and he brought that team back. Although they did not win, it was ended in a tie. But this is almost like a win, for Kyler Murray because they were dead in the water, and everyone, including myself, was thinking that this game is over. And sure enough, he rallied the troops and brought them back to tie this game up at the end of overtime. So kudos to him. Unfortunately, it came at the expense of my team, on it. But this air raid that they were talking about, we got a very small sample size because, again, in the second half, that's when they, started playing better. But spreading the ball around, I'm not ready to say I believe in it yet because, again, that's one team that you play as the season go on. There's going to be more material out there. And then how can Kyler Murray adjust? Because he's going to go through his ups and downs. But I give him credit. This last game, he did his thing, and he showed why he was the number one, overall pick. Another guy, he was not the number one overall pick. He actually was the last pick let me say this, and I forgot to say this, about the Detroit Lions. This is why I was disappointed too, because this is the second time the Detroit Lions have played a first half against a rookie quarterback. Last year, if you remember, Sam Darnold, he threw a pick six to start off his career in Detroit, and I thought they were going to, use that momentum and confuse him, but unfortunately, he turned it around, and Detroit took a very, very bad loss, on that game. So I don't know what's going on, with Detroit. It just seems like stuff doesn't go right. But hey, again, props to Kyler Murray. Now, I'm sorry. So we went from the first overall pick to the last overall first round pick in Lamar Jackson. And boy, oh boy, did he have a good game. And unfortunately, it's at the expense of Mocha Bella's team, the Miami Dolphins. But they won the Baltimore Ravens. I think it was a ridiculous amount, 59-10. And Lamar went for 5 touchdowns, 4 he threw, and he ran 1 in, but he threw for 324. Or actually, I'm sorry, he threw all 5 touchdowns for 324 yards. He only went 17 for 20, so there was a lot of big bulk plays that he made in this game. But the main thing that I really want to point out, because I spoke about this guy coming out of college, and I said, if you look at his stats, and you look at his completion percentage, every year he got better and better and better. Yes, we saw his footwork. Yes, we saw what he could do, with his feet. But you could see that there was some type of progression through college that he was getting better throwing the ball. And in college, you can get away with that. You can, say, you know what, I should be working on this, or maybe I should be, passing more. But my superior talent is going to beat a lot of these guys. So you get to the NFL and everything, everybody's a superior talent. So you got to change some things up, about your game. And he was talking about this actually on First Things First today with Chris Carter, Nick Wright, and Jenna Wolf, was that he was talking about going into the off season this time and actually working, on passing, where last year he was dealing with the draft, dealing with the combine, and dealing with all this other stuff where he didn't have to deal with that anymore. He could really work on his game. So, again, it's a small sample size, 17 for 20. It's not like he threw the ball, 40 times or anything like that. But the great thing about it is that we saw him from the pocket, and he proved, hey, I can throw the ball, which I was trying to tell people, it's just going to take some time. They were running last year. That was only because of that situation. It wasn't going to last. They knew he wouldn't survive running, and they wanted to just see what they could get through the playoffs and maybe make a run doing it that way. And then when the offseason comes, they were going to work on his passing. And it seems like that's what they did. So I'm rooting for this young man because he's done everything the right way. He doesn't go out there with a cocky attitude or anything. The kid just wants to play quarterback, and he has an opportunity and he has a chance. And we need to give him a chance to work on his mechanics and work on his passing. I mean, he's not, the final product anyway. He's only in his second year, so he's still got years, to get better. And it is a ton of quarterbacks that are out there that we already know that we could criticize as well, but we don't for whatever reason. So I'm just glad he had a good game. Keep up the good work, young man, and get better and better and better. Because let me tell you something. If he figures out how he gonna, cater his game and put his passing at an elite level, there's going to be some big, big, big problems in the AFC North for a lot of teams. And even in the AFC, big problems. So we got a game tomorrow, actually. And it may not be, the one that everybody is, looking forward to, but it is a football game, the Thursday night football game that is going to be going down, and it is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Carolina Panthers. So both teams came off of losses. Both of them are 0-1 at this point, so someone will be on the board with the W. And it's very simple quarterback play. Are we going to get better quarterback play from both quarterbacks? Jameis Winston was horrible. He threw 3 interceptions last game in San Francisco, and actually I think 2 of them were pick sixes. I know at least one of them was a pick six. 194 yards and only 1 touchdown. Cam Newton didn't do too much better at 239 yards, no touchdowns and an interception. Now, for him, a little bit different is that Christian McCaffrey was balling all out of control because he had 2 touchdowns for 128 yards in that last game. And then I want to say in the receiving, he had over 50 yards, as well. So that game, it was a close game with the Rams. It was working. The passing wasn't working. So it's just like, hey, let's keep, what we got, try and get to W. And if we do, great. If we don't, then we'll go ahead and do the necessary adjustments going into, next week. But running back forward, I don't know who's going to win this. I guess the majority bulk. It looks like right now for Tampa Bay it's going to be Ronald Jones, but I won't hold my breath because surprisingly, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did not draft anyone. There was a lot of guys that came out in a draft that they could have put on this team. So obviously Bruce Arians sees something in either Ronald Jones or Peyton Barber that they will be able to carry the load. But Ronald Jones had a decent game, 75 yards in this last game that he had. But he's going up against a little bit tougher defense with the Carolina Panthers, and Luke Kuechly and they got Gerald McCoy now, so manning that front line, and then you got that secondary line at the linebacker with Kuechly and the other guys. So I'm gonna say, with this game, maybe I need to start back to doing my picks because wide receivers, you're looking at Chris Godwin, you're looking at Michael Evans or Mike Evans, I'm sorry, and versus DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. So I think they will negate each other out. Tight ends. Greg Olsen is questionable, so he's dealing with a little bit of an injury. OJ Howard was non-existent, but I think part of that was just the passing game. I think they'll keep it simple because they are working on short days for this game. I just think Cam is going to bounce back, and I think he's going to definitely show some of the stuff that he was showing in practice in training camp. And Jameis will continue to struggle because his biggest problem has been interceptions, throwing it to the wrong team, and it seems like that has continued. I don't know if there's anything to warrant that things will be different. I know Bruce Arians is there. Maybe he can